This is the place you want to be if you want to learn about what it's like to be a figure model. I've been a figure model for many decades, and I'm here to tell you all about it. Welcome back to the Figure Model Podcast. This is episode number 10, and I'm Rob Schendel, your figure model. The last time I spoke with you, we were talking about how to pose. Some of the good poses, how to do it, and I gave you a little checklist, actually from an article online, which you still can get from me. Just go back to the last episode, and I'll give you instructions there how to find it. But where are you going to do your posing? How do you get the gigs? And this is a subject that will come up all the time. All the time. People are more interested in knowing how to get the gig than what to do once they get there. At least so it seems. Always be on the lookout. Everywhere. You know what I do? Every time I happen to pass an art gallery, for example, I'll take a peek in the window. I won't necessarily go inside, but I'll take a peek in the window and see what they have on display. Maybe they've got some figure studies on display. And if that's the case, I'll try to get an artist's name and Google search them. But one of the places that's so far been very good for me has been Craigslist. Believe it or not, Craigslist. Now, it's got a bad reputation when it comes to nude adults, but here's a place to look. But don't look anywhere for a figure model opportunity other than right at the top of the front page where it says community. That's where I got the job that I've got next week. Community, they'll say events, artists, classes. There's 3 categories under community. Here's how it kind of looks. But go into each one of those and type figure model, figure models, figure drawing. You'll find some responses. At least you will if you're in a major metropolitan area. That's what I did, and I got a great gig next week. So I came across this listing for a figure drawing workshop. It gave the hours, the days of the week and such, but implied that they were instructed. Usually a workshop is just a drawing session, but not this one. So I went through the typical channels. I clicked on the link and responded to it, but I have a bit of a resume, and also this podcast is part of my resume. So I had a lot to say in my letter, and I included one picture of myself, and I got a response real soon. Now, the first response dealt with availability, and was I available on such and such a date? So I checked, and yeah, I was, and I said that. And came back a reply to that. Great. Then I'll put you in. I'll write you in for that date. I said, terrific. Anything I need to know before I come by and model for you? And they responded with, and this is kind of unique, they responded with a note of what to bring. One being a robe, one being a sheet, and finally a timer to time the poses. Well, I'm used to I've never had anyone ask me to bring a sheet, but I guess I've got one here. I'll have to wash it. And timer, I've had so many times. In fact, I've got one right here, kitchen timers that I bought in quantity. Where they go? But I've got one all set for me to go. But you know what? Also, if you got a smartphone, chances are you got a timer in there too. I've found that out with the new phone that I bought. But the robe has always been kind of a issue, and I don't really like to bring things to a session, particularly unless the stuff I'm wearing at the time on the street beforehand. I don't like soap because this is what happens. So I'm carrying this backpack with me with a robe in it and some slippers maybe. And I don't normally carry things, and here I am on the train, and here I am on the bus going to these things. And then I go to the session, everything's fine, carrying my bag, then I'm going to the grocery store on the way home or something, and don't I forget it, I'll leave it. I have lost stuff like that on the bus. Set it down while looking at a product and walk away, and I lose them. So what I think I'm going to probably do, being that she mentioned this, is I'm just going to wear sweatpants to the session that are easy enough to just pull on, pull off, and some loose pullover like maybe what I'm wearing now or something, and be done with it. That'll be my robe. Because I don't like, like I said, I don't like the idea of a robe. Some people really, really rely on that robe. It breaks the ice between totally clothed and totally naked. I don't need that icebreaker. Another place to check, if you're looking for gigs, is the local universities and colleges. Go into their websites, look at the curriculum, and look for art. And if there's anything that says something like life drawing, life sculpture, figure drawing, beginning drawing, look at the class descriptions. Quite frequently they'll also mention the names of the instructor in the class description. And if you can, click on that name. So often there's an email address attached to the profile. Send off a little note just to let them know you're available. Chances are they're not even going to respond. Once in a while they will. So, and it's a typical sales job. They say it takes 10 no's to get a yes if in any sort of sales position. It's no different here. But you do that and you're going to have some great gigs. You're not going to work full time, but you're going to have some great gigs come up. And if you're lucky and if you're good, they'll call on you again and again. That's what I do. Way back in episode 1 of this podcast, I was telling you how I had been, I guess, retired for about 5 years, and suddenly I got this email asking if I would be available to model at the number one school that I had always tried to get into. Well, what ended up happening, it was such a mystery to me how they found me 5 years later. I finally figured it out. And I had done one of these, what I just mentioned. I contacted a bunch of schools way back 6 years ago or so, looking for gigs. And so I found who's teaching a life drawing class here or there and the other place. And turns out that one of those teachers at a suburban school got my note, kept it on file. 6 years later or so, writes to me again, he's now at this school, the one that I'd wanted to go to all the time. And it worked. It worked. May not be tomorrow, may not be a year from now, it could be 6 years later. Somebody will find that note that you sent them announcing your availability and interest and will hire you as a figure model. I've said it before, and I guess it bears repeating, that you're not going to find full-time work as a figure model. It's just not, it doesn't happen. It's not in the cards. But if you keep this up and all these little hints that I give you, you might be able to make some healthy money that way, and maybe pay for that new computer or something you want. If you need a model in the Chicago area, I'm always available. Please contact me. The contact information follows. I want to thank you for downloading. Thank you for watching. I'll be back shortly with another episode of the Figure Model Podcast. I'm Rob Schendel, your male figure model.